morning, you are watching A News. I'm Bakhtiar Hasanov, and let's see the top stories. Trump tariffs go through with measures introduced by the United States expected to impact global trade. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen reveals that the EU is finalizing the first package of countermeasures in response to the US tariffs. The death toll is continuing to rise after the earthquake in Myanmar. There are now fears that diseases could spread. US President Donald Trump's major announcements on reciprocal tariffs is expected to impact global trade. Yesterday, he declared the 2nd of April American Liberation Day and announced reciprocal tax hikes on 180 countries in order to boost production at home. Our correspondent in Washington, D.C., Ubi Shibander, has more.
If they charge us, we charge them back. That is how President Trump on Wednesday outlined his new tariff plan to safeguard American jobs as he proclaimed a, quote, day of American liberation and announced sweeping new reciprocal tariffs that will include a 10% tariff on all imports from all countries and a 25% tariff levied on all cars imported into the United States. China has been slapped with a new 34% tariff that goes on top of the existing 20%. So total U.S. tariffs on goods produced in China have now amounted to 54%. Interestingly enough, no new tariffs were imposed on Canada or Mexico. President Trump made the announcement with his cabinet, senior lawmakers, and American auto workers in the audience in the White House's Rose Garden. The president said that the day would be, quote, forever remembered as a day that American industry was reborn and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. In a chart published by the White House, the U.S. is charging about half of the tariffs on countries that have placed tariffs of their own on the United States. That will include value-added taxes on American-produced goods. For example, Vietnam has a 90% tariff on American agricultural products. As a result, the U.S. has now placed a reciprocal 46% tariff, or about half, on Vietnamese products. Trump added that these tariffs are necessary, as he believes that the U.S. has been, quote, looted and plundered by nations near and far, friend and foe alike, due to the White House describing as being unfair trade practices. The president stressed that for years, other nations have created trade barriers that have decimated various American industries and stolen industrial intellectual property from the United States. The tariffs on foreign-produced cars will be especially impactful. Trump paused his speech and brought to the podium a Detroit auto worker who praised Trump's tariff plan and said that he, alongside other workers, believed that these tariffs were necessary to bring back factories that have had to shut down. Trump highlighted how countries like Japan, South Korea, and Germany have placed significantly higher tariffs to protect their own products and their auto manufacturers, while ensuring that American car companies were unable to enter their markets. Likewise, American farmers have also been dealt an unfair hand, according to Trump, due to high tariffs placed by countries that in turn depend on the U.S. market to export much of their dairy and beef products. The baseline tariff rate of 10% will go into effect on April 5th, while additional reciprocal tariffs will go into effect on April 9th. The U.S. president believes that the tariffs will bring in a windfall of revenue to the federal treasury and invigorate American industries, including car manufacturers that have for years faced steep decline. I'm Ubi Shibander, A News, Washington, D.C.
Some Americans are worried about the impact on everyday essential items after President Donald Trump has announced a new set of tariffs that are shaking up global trade. He's imposing a 10% baseline tax hike on all countries that are sending goods to the United States.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
US President Donald Trump has unveiled a list of nearly 200 countries which will face new tax duties, with about 60 labelled as worst offenders. Trump says the baseline 10% tariffs are reciprocal tax hikes and claims these nations impose unfair trade barriers on US goods or act against American economic interests. These will take effect after midnight on Saturday, while the higher rates will be starting next Wednesday. The announcement has already raised fears of higher consumer prices. In Washington, D.C., people are concerned about the impact on everyday goods.
It'll be affected big. You see it in the market. You see the groceries are going up. The farmers are catching it. He come and flip the whole system around.
Yeah, I mean, avocados from Mexico is definitely a big one that I think about. I know some of our citrus too are grown internationally as well. Those are two of the big ones that I can think of off the top of my head. But still know that that's going to have an impact on grocery budgets.
It's still really concerning. I'm not sure. I'm not really feeling it at the moment, but when they do, if they do, right? It's gonna be concerning. Things are already rising. There's already inflation and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really want there to be other price hikes. It already kind of sucks to with the amount of income that I make to have to deal with that.
From today, all foreign-made automobiles will be charged a 25% tariff. Chinese imports will face a 54% tax, an increase from previous rates, while the European Union and Japan will see tariffs of 20% and 24% respectively. While Canada and Mexico are absent from the new tariffs, existing trade measures tied to border security and fentanyl remain in place. These sweeping tax increases mark a sharp reversal from decades of trade liberalisation and are likely to trigger retaliatory measures from US trading partners. As these duties take effect, consumers and businesses alike are bracing for the economic impact.
The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has condemned the US President Donald Trump's universal tariffs as a severe blow to the global economy. She says the European Union is ready to take countermeasures if negotiations fail. The EU is finalizing the first package of countermeasures in response to Trump's tax hikes on steel. The European Commission President, however, did not provide any details on future EU measures. Von der Leyen also said that the EU is preparing additional measures to protect its interests and businesses if talks with Washington do not yield positive results. Death threats against the judge in the Marine Le Pen case have been condemned by magistrate unions in France. The day before, Le Pen denounced a court ruling barring her from public office for 5 years, calling it a tactic to block her 2027 presidential bid. Her party chief, Jordan Bardella, is now calling for nationwide protests, while a reaction across France and abroad continues to pour in.
France's biggest magistrates' union has condemned threats made against the judge who barred far-right leader Marine Le Pen from running in France's 2027 presidential election. Bénédicte de Pertuis, the head of a 3-judge panel that found Le Pen guilty, is under police protection after facing death threats and having her home address shared online.
And there is a political responsibility of everybody in office within the parliament, the government, when they say and when they attack judges as well, because it will spread within the society, and everybody, as I said before, online or in real life, might think, okay, I can attack a judge as well. It is not acceptable in a democracy, and there is a strong political responsibility.
Marine Le Pen, leader of France's far-right National Rally, has reacted strongly to a court ruling banning her from holding public office for 5 years. The conviction stems from charges of embezzling EU funds, which were intended for parliamentary staff, but were instead used to pay party employees who did not work for the European Parliament. Le Pen was sentenced to 4 years in prison, 2 of which are suspended, with the remaining 2 years under home detention. The 5-year ban on holding public office is immediate, blocking her from running in the 2027 election. Prosecutors also requested a €300,000 fine. Le Pen has vowed to appeal, calling the ruling a political move aimed at stopping her campaign. While Le Pen is preparing for her appeal, it's her party's leader, Jordan Bardella, who is now leading the charge for protests. He has called on supporters to take to the streets this weekend to express their opposition to the ruling, framing the decision as an attack on democracy. International reactions have also been strong. US President Donald Trump described the ruling as a very big deal with far-reaching consequences, while the US State Department warned against the exclusion of people from the political process. The ruling has drawn support in social media from Le Pen's European allies, with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán posting "Je suis Marine" on X. Swedish journalist, political commentator Peter Sweden posted on X that Marine Le Pen banned from being able to become the French president in 2027. She was the favourite to win. Is this what democracy looks like? He added. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also expressed concern, saying that the ruling deprived millions of citizens of their right to political representation. French centrist politician Prisca Thévenot, however, defended the judicial system, saying that if political leaders demand firmness from the courts, they must accept the consequences when those decisions are made.
The death toll is continuing to rise after last week's earthquake in Myanmar. Nearly 3,000 people have lost their lives and over 4,600 are left injured. The Myanmar junta has declared a ceasefire from April 2nd to 22nd to show sympathy for earthquake victims and support rescue efforts.
Finding anyone alive has become more challenging in the debris after the earthquake that struck Myanmar and neighbouring Thailand. The death toll has now risen to nearly 3,000. 4,000 people were injured and 373 are still missing. This was according to the latest data shared by the local media stations. This rescuer in Mandalay says the conditions of searching or even finding some life has become testing.
There is zero possibility of finding survivors. It is the 5th or 6th day after the earthquake and the weather is extremely hot, so it is not possible for people to stay alive in this situation. We have only recovered bodies so far.
However, officials haven't lost all hope in Bangkok.
Hope, but frankly, hope gets a little bit slimmer every day, each day pass, But I think today our staff got phone call from Myanmar that they just found a survivor. How old? Just one survivor, and it happened at the same time. So it happened there, it can so happens here too. Yeah.
Beijing has sent the first batch of $13.9 million worth of emergency supplies, including tents, blankets and first aid kits to Myanmar. The United States has also pledged $2 million worth in aid, while Russia has set up a mobile hospital in Mandalay. India deployed a search and rescue team, medical professionals and aircraft carrying essential items. The European Union has launched a humanitarian air bridge operation, sending 80 tons of supplies, including child protection kits and health materials for the country, to be distributed by UNICEF and local partners. The United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, says the number of injured or deceased infants is still unknown. There are now also fears that diseases could spread.
Now, we've seen the official figures in terms of the death toll. We think it's very likely that there are hundreds of children that are among the dead. We believe that there are children that are under the rubble. And we also know that there are children that have lost their parents. So when there's a sudden onset emergency, often what happens is what we call family separation. That means children may be losing their caregivers, or they may be separated. In the chaos and confusion, they may be separated. And that creates new risks for children, because children are reliant on their parents for food, for safety, for education, all these things. So one of the priorities needs to be safety for children. That needs to be the top priority. Shelter is incredibly important, and making sure children are with their families.
As the situation develops, the full scale of the damage may not be clear until the coming days or weeks, as both nations begin the long journey toward recovery.
At the COP29 in Baku, a new chapter in climate finance began with the bold decision to triple the $100 billion climate finance goal, an historic milestone. At the Petersburg Climate Dialogue, the European Commissioner Wopke Hoekstra stressed the lasting importance of the Paris Agreement. He also highlighted the next climate change summit as a crucial opportunity to strengthen commitments and advance the net zero transition.
10 years ago, you would almost forget, but it was only 10 years ago that we were witnessing the signing of the Paris Agreement. And that was the big moment which fundamentally shifted our approach to tackle climate change. And despite everything that has happened, Paris, in my view, continues to be more important than ever. It is the foundation on which all our actions are being built. And today we have a clear goal as well, to keep the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees within reach. And as you know, at COP28, we made a landmark decision to begin transitioning away from fossil fuels. And that truly was a game-changing moment in our fight against climate change. And then at COP29, we ushered a new era for climate finance with the historic decision, not easy, but still historic decision, to triple the $100 billion climate finance goal. So that, of course, puts the question on the table, what does COP30 represent? What is the goal we're working towards? COP30 is our chance and our opportunity to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to fully implement the Paris Agreement and building on the successes of COP28 and COP29. And COP30, of course, will very clearly be the moment where we showcase our ambitious nationally determined contributions, our NDCs, which was, of course, also the buzzword throughout this conference. And we've already succeeded in reducing more than a degree of global warming since Paris, but clearly we're late in the game, and even though we have made progress, this is not enough. And that is why it is so important that we keep on this trajectory. I'm convinced that if we manage to succeed, and if we see more rather than less multilateralism, at COP30 we will send a very strong signal to the real economy that the transition to a net zero world is not just possible, but actually it is fully underway.
Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan is set to represent Turkey at the NATO Foreign Ministers meeting taking place on today and tomorrow in Brussels. The meeting serves as a crucial precursor to the NATO summit in June and is expected to shape key policy discussions among alliance members. This will be the first collective consultation between the new U.S. administration and NATO allies and will focus on a broad range of security challenges, with particular emphasis on collective defense, the ongoing war in Ukraine, and NATO's deepening cooperation with its Asia-Pacific partners. As a key member of the bloc, Turkey is expected to play a significant role in the discussions. In a significant cultural move, the ruling Justice and Development Party in Turkey has taken steps to declare March the 21st as an official public holiday under the name Nowruz holiday. The move is set to align Turkey with other Turkic nations that already recognize this traditional festival as a public holiday. Turkish ruling Justice and Development Party has initiated efforts to declare March the 21st as an official public holiday in Turkey under the name Nowruz holiday. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had previously announced during Nowruz celebrations that the government planned to recognize the traditional festival as an official holiday. Now the AK party has begun the necessary legislative steps to implement this decision. According to reports from Cumhuriyet newspaper, the initiative aims to elevate Nowruz beyond Turkey, reinforcing its status as a shared cultural celebration among Turkic nations. Currently, countries such as Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan and Azerbaijan already recognize Nowruz as an official public holiday. The move is expected to further integrate Turkey with other Turkic states, promoting the festival as a unifying tradition for the entire region. The legislative process will be overseen by Kursat Zorlu, the AK party's deputy chairman responsible for relations with Turkic states. The legislative and diplomatic groundwork is set to begin soon, paving the way for Turkey to join its neighbors in officially recognizing March the 21st as a national holiday.
Hoş geldin, sefa geldin.
After signing a historic border agreement with Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan's president has emphasized the need for constructive engagement with Afghanistan, calling a stable Afghanistan vital for both Central Asia and the European Union. Tamim Bahis reports from Kabul, Afghanistan.
In an exclusive interview with Euronews, Uzbekistan's President Shavkat Mirziyoyev reaffirmed his country's commitment to Afghanistan, emphasizing that Uzbekistan has never turned away from its neighbor. He stressed that Afghanistan's stability and development rely on constructive engagement with regional partners, particularly Uzbekistan as one of its closest and most significant allies. The president noted that many who once questioned Uzbekistan's approach to Afghanistan now recognize its necessity. He also highlighted the changes under Afghanistan's current leadership, pointing out that stability has improved, allowing resources to be redirected toward key infrastructure projects, including airports, rail networks, and energy and water facilities. A major focus, he said, has been on curbing opium cultivation. According to the United Nations, Afghanistan has witnessed a dramatic 95% reduction in opium production following the Taliban's 2023 ban on drug sale. Additionally, efforts are underway to support rural communities by promoting alternative agriculture, reducing the country's reliance on drug trade. Looking ahead, President Mirziyoyev urged the international community to see Afghanistan as a land of emerging strategic opportunities. He stressed the importance of integrating Afghanistan into global economic processes, particularly through infrastructure development. To achieve this, he said Uzbekistan is ready to collaborate with the European Union and other international partners to drive a positive agenda that supports Afghanistan's recovery and long-term growth. The president also underscored the need for continued investment in education as a crucial aspect of Afghanistan's future. He concluded by stating that ensuring Afghanistan's stability and reconstruction is in the shared interest of both Central Asia and the European Union. This is Tamim Bahis in Kabul for A News.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more updates.